Okay, welcome back. This is episode 7 of Fuegostine's Music Club, and I am genuinely so proud of the work that I've put in for this and how far it's come. And on this particular episode, I've had the opportunity to sit down with somebody that I kind of stumbled upon by happenstance and has slowly turned into one of my favorite artists. He has a new EP out called Goodbye to the Valley Low. And this is a conversation with Hazlett. All right. So, yeah, happy to have Hazlett on the podcast, man. I appreciate you taking time. I know it's the time difference over there is a little different for us, but happy to have you on and taking the time out for us.
I'm happy to be here, man. I appreciate all the support that you've given me along the way. So it's the least I can do.
I appreciate that. So, I guess the first place I want to really start off is, from Australia, moved to Sweden. What does that journey kind of look like for you, while making music and listening to music? Has your taste changed over time, being immersed in different cultures, or has it kind of been steady?
I think it's definitely changed. Like one of the reasons when I moved up here, like I was just starting out and there's like a big pop music scene in Sweden. So I moved up here with the intention of, okay, I'll fund my Hazlett artist career by doing pop music and writing songs for other people. And I made like a niche here of, I guess, being like the lyrics guy. I was the go-to lyrics guy for like people like, oh, we got a really catchy song, but the lyrics suck on it. Like, Hazlett, can you come in and like do something? So in that sense, I guess I saw this weird like, I don't know, behind the scenes thing of music, like I guess how the sausage gets made in like the pop music world. So it was a bit like confronting, but at the same time, as much as I was like, oh, this is taking away the romantic side of music, it also like helps, I guess, you almost get this weird thing of flushing out all the ideas and stuff that you have, making space for your own music. And because it's such like a pop heavy focus up here, I guess I started listening to more and more in that. And then, I mean, it also helps that a lot of my favorite artists are kind of like Swedish, like First Aid Kit and Tallest Man on Earth and stuff like that. So it's like I got to experience seasons and fall and autumn. So that's like helped my musical journey as well. But yeah, it's definitely been a lot different to living in Australia.
So you mentioned that pop kind of rules the scene up there. Have you noticed, I mean, at least down here too, you've noticed like this big push in the indie folk space. Has it kind of been the same way up there?
I think so. I mean, historically speaking, like I was saying, like Tallest Man on Earth, First Aid Kit, other Scandinavian artists, like Hazlett and stuff like that. It's like they have such a strong history in that, but there also seems to be a bit of like live music scene is dying a bit in Sweden. Like all the middle class kind of venues got cut out, and it's either tiny small clubs and like big arenas now. So it's like that kind of indie folkness. I mean, it's everywhere because I feel like it's always it's like an entry point for a lot of people wanting to do music as well. It's like pick up a guitar, write a song, go play said song. So it's like in that way, it's like a rite of passage. But I don't know. I haven't really felt as big of a hit in that kind of like genre exploding or anything up here compared to when I was in the US last and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like here in the States, it's really there's this real resurgence of like this Americana indie folk, like folk rocks type stuff, and it's gained a lot of traction probably over the past like 2 years. I really feel like it's really kind of taken off, and with the help of like artists like Noah Khan and
Yeah.
even Zach Bryan to a point, kind of in that Americana space. So yeah, it's interesting that it hasn't really grasped elsewhere, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's so embedded in kind of like US culture, like the troubadour folk stuff as well. So I guess it's like, I mean, in that sense, like people still, there's a thirst for it and stuff up here. Like, but yeah, it's a bit different to gauge. I guess I was shocked when I went to the US recently and, I was like, no one's really going to care about, me picking up my guitar and playing some sad songs. And I was like, oh, people actually like give a shit. Yeah, this is nice.
Right.
I like America. I might come back sometime soon.
So kind of in that same, being an international artist,
Yeah.
traveling feels like it should be a little more time consuming than maybe, just like a little East Coast run here on the States. Does the extended travel affect like your mental space sometimes? Does it make it, harder or easier to kind of process things?
I don't think so. I mean, coming from Australia, it's like, yeah, any flight less than 10 hours, you're fine with it. Just because it takes so long to get anywhere. I think it takes like 15 hours to get to the US. It takes me 27 hours to get to Sweden from Australia. So it's like, I've now just like, um, I developed like I don't know, I just really zone out traveling and stuff like that. It hasn't really affected me or drains on me or anything like that in the mental space. And then in terms of being on the road and traveling around, it's like, yeah, that's fatiguing, but it's also like, it's where you get the juice and the energy to kind of keep going at the same time. So I think, if anything, moving up here by myself has probably been the biggest drain. Like, it's Scandinavians are kind of like very closed off at the start when you meet them. So it's like going to a foreign country and moving here and, you know, being a bit isolated. It's probably been the toughest thing, and being that far away from home.
I mean, how do you kind of in that same thing? Like someone previously has mentioned that like touring is really where you get, it's like the most rewarding part of being an artist.
Yeah.
I think a little bit in that same note, how do you feel about like social media in terms of its integration into being an artist and like it being such a necessary evil, it feels like for some
Yeah.
people nowadays? Does that, I mean, obviously it's kind of helped a lot of artists really gain traction, but you like it, hate it kind of thing.
I mean, I think like most people, I got a love-hate relationship with it. Like it does. I think it's like you have to be careful with how you're using it. And obviously it's like it's brought me, to so many like nice people, and I love like building a community and things like that. But it's such a fine line that it can turn from, the sword then becomes social media, and you live by the sword and die by the sword. And if a post doesn't do well, it's a reflection of your whole musical career. And it's so hard to not fall into that when you're like, I guess, promoting music, and even, to some extent labels are like, they're pushing, oh, our release plan is whatever you put on socials. And you think, okay, well, what if I don't put anything on socials? Like, can't I just be romantic and think that music is just going to do its thing? But yeah, I mean, I think for me, the biggest thing's been just like self-aware of like, oh, when is this not fun anymore? Also being able to like think I try and schedule out like time to use it, which sounds really, I don't know, it makes you feel like it's forced work, but to some extent it is work, like a lot of the time. So it's like, okay, here's X amount of hours on a Monday where I write back to as many DMs as I can, and here's X amount where I create the stuff that I want to do. So I don't get stuck into, I'll do it when I get a chance, because that's when you get caught up in like the doom scrolling kind of like it's like setting yourself boundaries almost of how to use it, because it's like, it's so important that I think I can't just ignore it and be like, I'm never going to do it ever again. Yeah, I mean, I go through times where I'm like, I've got nothing to say, so there's no point in me putting something out there that's like fake on social media. I'd rather wait till I'm recharged and have the energy to put like 100% effort into it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I can't relate more to the idea that like you can get lost if you don't schedule it, and it's still something
Yeah,
I'm working through. Like
it's
scheduling
right
it,
there. You're like,
it's right
oh,
there.
let me
It's
just check, and then half an hour later, you're like, oh, there
you're
goes my
gone.
day.
You forgot. Yeah, you forgot what you went there for. You didn't even do the thing you were supposed to be doing, and you scrolled like 40 posts, and yeah,
And now I've
it's
bought
real
like
easy.
a new way to juice lemons for some reason, like from this like ad that I got given.
Yeah, and I know for me, like kind of living the same thing you mentioned, living by the sword, dying by the sword. With this too, this is for me has become a lot of like my livelihood, and that notion of like not attaching yourself to posts and like the how good or bad one does is such a hard thing to do. I feel like it's just something you really really have to work on,
Yeah.
or at least maybe just me at least.
I think it's like having such heavy social media work like you have is like very similar to also musicians as well. You're in this weird cross section of, you have to be your own person and independent and do your thing. But also at the same time, you have to have people like you for what you do, and also interact with what you put out there. Otherwise, you can't live off it. So it's this weird thing of, I'm my own individual and I don't care what anyone thinks, but please, I desperately need the validation of what everyone thinks to survive.
It's such a weird place to be. Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. Like especially me. Like I mean, I don't make music. I'm just sharing other people's stuff, and it's like really you have to find this. I've really worked to try to carve out this like I am a person outside of it,
Yeah.
and kind of in the same space where we talk about mental things, because I do believe it's a very big deal. So yeah, kind of it's a very odd place to be in. Oftentimes on your socials, you describe like your inspiration or your drive or your want to keep doing this as like people. Um, can you just elaborate a little bit on what that connection is with people and how it really drives you to continue to do this and want to do this?
I think like I guess when you start out doing music, there'll always be some random person that gives you advice about shows, and it's always like the same thing of like when you play a show, all that matters is if you won over one person or one person like connects with your music. And I guess when you hear it when you're younger, you're like, okay, cool, thanks, like old sage man in the back of the bar telling me this wisdom, passing it down. But then I guess the more and more you dig into it, like I just come out and I started writing songs because I was like, I have stuff that I need to work out. Let me do it through music. And then you think it's so much about yourself. And then the more and more you put stuff out that I've found, it's like someone else has connected this in a completely different way. And this is no longer my thing. Like this is other people's thing to hold on to. Similar to like, me listening to Forever Ago, whatever. The memories that I have with that music is probably like, sometimes even more so than I guess Justin Vernon in creating it. Like I have a different set of memories that are, different to him, and you forget that other people are going to do the same thing with your music, which is a weird thing to come to grips with growing up as just a fan of music, that other people would do similar things to you. Like, so in that sense, it's like, yeah, just figuring all that out. But yeah, I mean, the live thing is the biggest thing. I mean, I've been caught up in the numbers and social media, and even though you got Spotify for artists where you dig into stuff and things like that, which is great. They're all great tools and they make you feel validated sometimes, but it's like nothing is ever better than, you play a show and you get to talk to like one person after a show who just genuinely loved what you did. And I played like one of my worst shows ever in Boise. Uh, and it was just like I was a support act, and you could tell the crowd was just ready to party. Like it was a Friday night. They were not in the mood for sad guy, long hair, playing guitar on stage. And even I had like in my headphones, the sound guy, like I think we got maybe a few songs from the end of the set, and he jumped on the microphone in my ears and just said, maybe we should wrap this up like a couple songs early. And I was like, okay. So I walked off stage thinking it was like the worst show of my life. And the sweetest girl came up to me at the back of the venue, and I was like, just like kicking myself. And she told me how much like the music meant to her. And I was like, it's just this wave of realization of like, it's not about me. Like, that's the whole
Yeah,
point, that you write songs, you get them out of your system, you've done your part, and then kind of the music does the rest.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I relate on a very, very, very small scale to that in the sense that like I've had random people approach me about, like, oh, like if you didn't share the song or like you sharing music has kind of rekindled my love for music, and that for me means so much. Just because like music has always been a very, very safe place for me in
Yeah.
life, and a place where I go to try to heal, try to hide sometimes, whatever. So
Yeah. And you wouldn't have expected that when you started doing it as well. It's like that's the thing. You're like, I didn't write these songs to expect that reaction to people. Same way you putting out stuff, you didn't expect people to say like, thanks for like even like just saving me in general. And you're like, okay, that's heavy. That's
so
great. But like, wow, okay.
yeah, it's yeah, that human connection really does make such a big difference, honestly.
Mm.
So you recently signed with Network, uh, is that right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
congrats on that. And how does that feel any different from being like somebody who's fully independent? Me personally, I'm still trying to work through the hierarchy or the what it looks like for an artist based on if they're with a group or a label or
Yeah.
independent.
Well, it's like where technically it's licensed to Network. So I'm
So
with them. So Freddie, who I connected with up here, who I write and record everything with, he started his own label called Blank up with his partner Anna. And so we released independently through them for a while, and then Network came along and offered to help out, for us to reach more people in, the US and UK and stuff like that, and basically just kind of be more machinery for us to, reach more people. Yeah, I mean, it's strange. When I first started, I did the typical signed a major label deal that I think everyone has, like, kind of one of those stories to, like, a tale as old as time. Like, you're a smaller artist, you get sucked into the allure of a major label, and then you kind of just sit on the shelf at the label until maybe they let you go, which I was lucky enough that they let me go and I got to do things independently. So, I mean, ever since then, it's been very, I guess, insular. Like, me, Freddie, and Anna, like, really protected everything that we've done and kept it as internal as possible. Letting someone like network in recently was like, it's tough because, you're bringing, you know, a lot of more voices and things like that into the fold. But I mean, we got I think, a good dynamic going on where network's great, where they let us do our thing, and we bring that to them and kind of can say, here's our vision, like, can you help us execute this? And in that sense, it's been like a really good setup where nothing's really changed except that we have a chance of getting the music out there a bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I think yeah, I've heard stories, from many people with a major label thing where it's kind of,
Yeah.
it ends up as a horror story. It feels like almost like 9 times out of 10. Um, so I'm,
I
yeah,
don't
more
feel, I
just
feel like they
curious.
have I feel like they have a time and place as well. It's like, I would never, it's just like, if you're still, I sign, like a lot of people do, when you're still trying to find out who you are as a musician. Like, I signed my deal, I think, a year after or 2 years after I learned how to sing. So when I was like 27 or something. So, I didn't know who I was, which, how is a big giant corporation going to know who I am? So it's they definitely have a purpose and a time and place. It just wasn't the right one for me.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. I think, yeah, the musical like hierarchy is always super interesting to me, and how it works with artists and what it provides to them. So I like to try to get everybody's, background on it a little bit.
Yeah.
So kind of speaking to, I guess, touring. So you're going to be headlining a US tour here shortly. What's that kind of mean to you? I know for a long time it's been like kind of inaccessible to get to the States. So just kind of curious on your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's so expensive if you're not from the US. Like, I think it costs around, I guess, in total, like, 6 grand in, like, visa fees to try and get a lawyer to help, so you got the best chance of getting it possible. So that was always the biggest hurdle. It's like, I would love to just come and test the waters and play in the US, but it was this thing of, okay, I know some people might want to hear me, but I really need, like, a bunch of you guys to get together and be in one place at one time to do this. And doing that Laney tour early in the year, like, it just opened up so many doors, because that's, being the support act, which I've been basically my whole career. It's this nice safety net that you have of, you know, they're not reliant on me to bring the whole crowd to the venue, so at least you have, like, somewhat of an inbuilt audience. And so, yeah, this tour is going to be the first time, I guess, stepping away from that safety net. So I was a bit terrified of. I mean, I'm always very pessimistic when it comes to myself and music in general. I'm like, okay, people are listening, but, like, how many people are going to turn up? Like, why would people turn up? Who's going to spend their Thursday night in Salt Lake City coming out to this? And then I think we announced, like, pre-sale of the shows, and they sold out, like, within a week, most of them. And then we had to upgrade a bunch of venues, and I'm still under the impression that something bad is going to happen, and I'm going to turn up and it was just like a big joke and no one's actually going to be at the venues. But yeah, I mean, it's huge, and I don't think it's quite sunk in yet. But, like, that's the whole reason I wanted to do music when I first started, was to play live, as nervous and scared as it made me originally in the start. Like, yeah, it's the whole reason for doing it. So have some shows on the cards, and yeah, sold out, funnily enough, is a bit surreal.
Yeah. I mean, so in terms of like future, right, does selling out, one set of headlines in the US like give precedence to do it again? Does that like, I'm trying to think of the word for it. Does it like strengthen your ability to come back in terms of
Yeah,
like pulling stuff?
I mean, I'm very new to all of it as well. Like I was saying, like, I'm used to being the support X guy, so it's like you don't have to worry about these things. But yeah, so what I've seen of how it all kind of works is like it goes in stepping stones. So, I mean, the good thing is like the booking agent that I'm working with used to, it still does, is the booking agent for Noah Khan. So it's like he's seen like the progress and, great blueprint of how to do it. And it's, you play a set of venues and then you come back relatively soon and you step up, maybe you double the capacity or even just, you go from 500 cap rooms to 1200 cap rooms and you go from 1200 to like 2,500. That's just kind of the way it seems it works. And especially you sell out shows, like it looks really good to, future tours and festivals. And it just becomes a bit of a snowball effect from what I know. But I'll let you know when I get through this first tour and see what happens on the other side of it.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Even maybe not on tour life, but just in general, like what do you think is like your best or like your go-to form of, either mental health care or
Right.
self-care or something you always go back to that always feels like it fills your cup up a little bit and kind of brings you back.
I'm a big like pickup basketball guy, so if I've got the chance to play pickup, I'll do that. And I get way too competitive for my own good, so it's like I think I dropped like a C bomb on a court once when I was in the US, and the guys did not like me using that language on the court. But um, yeah, that's I think anything physical I think gets me like out of my head a bit. I grew up playing basketball, so it's like a way to just switch off and you just go into muscle memory and thinking about anything else because you're just so in that. And same with the gym or running and things like that. Anytime where you don't have time to think, basically, which sounds like you're shutting it off, but I think it's also like it just gives you a bit of a respite from you know being so heavy in thoughts. If you've got heavy thoughts going on, that you can come back to them a bit. Yeah, it's a bit fuller and you got more clarity, I guess, to think about things again.
Yeah, I've found for me kind of in that same my pickup basketball days are pretty much over, I think at this point.
Mine should be.
I get it. Yeah. I mean, I was never great at basketball, but I played it, growing up and in high school and all that stuff. But haven't played a game of basketball in a minute. But yeah, for me, it's just the physical thing. Or like I go for like a long walk or just try to be out and in the sun, and that usually helps a little bit at the very least. So let's I guess trying to change gears a little bit is give me an artist or someone that you think deserves a little more love than they're getting.
Little more love. I feel like I could dig into one of my playlists that I've got here to bring this up. I think Lev Bolbeck is a big one. He's like very kind of like I think there's a bit of a running joke around like other kind of folk artists that he's every folk artist's favorite artist. He's like your favorite folk artist's favorite. So it's like I think he's a really really good one that I like.
Yeah,
Have you
it's
listened to
funny
much of
that
him?
you say that because literally, I forget who else I had on that I think said the same exact person.
Yeah,
I've listened a little bit. Not, I feel like I need to do a full deep dive because you know
he's great.
one is yeah I'll have to do a deep dive because one person saying it is one thing and then two artists saying it feels like I should really pay attention to it.
Yeah, he's really lyrically he's great and he's probably one of my favorites at the moment. I've had him on repeat. I'm just trying to find why my playlist so unorganized. I feel like I'm making bad podcast content right now.
We're all good. I make bad podcast content daily.
That's good.
What about while you're scrolling through, what about a song? What's a song that you think is super underrated, under the radar? Maybe not even by Lee Fullback, but somebody else.
I've heard Nothing More Than That by the Paper Kites on repeat at the moment. It's from an album of theirs. The whole thing I just listened to start to finish. It's on the train ride home. And it's like become one of those kind of everything albums for me. It's like I listen to it before I go to bed. I listen to it when I'm literally, you get this not self-sabotage, but you get that thing where you just want to do the thing that teenage you would do and put your headphones in and stare longingly out the window on the train or in the car and just really embrace the fields for a while. So I'd say that is probably one of them.
Okay. What about
Also, just love the Paper Kites, how they've like evolved over the past few albums. Like
Are you an album listener or like I feel like today where we can really get caught up in just song by song by song. Or are you like an album listener or you try to jump around sometimes?
I like to try and find, probably, I think it's similar to how you like to do things, where you find a song that you like from someone and then you just dig into their discography.
Mhm.
And that seems to be the way I like doing things. Probably because I mean, I really care about, albums that I make and the order and things like that, that I try and just put that care onto other people. I'm like, surely they think the way I think, like that. I should give them the time of day. But yeah, I mean, I myself have caught up in a lot of the, scrolling through songs and listening to bits and pieces and then just creating, I guess, a bit of a hit list of people that I want to dig into more. Um, Minova is the person that I think you would really like, that I think
Yeah,
needs more.
I feel like I've listened to Manova. Like this,
Yeah,
it sounds so familiar. I probably have.
yeah.
What about let's talk about a song by yourself that, maybe it's not your most popular, but like you're just super, super proud of.
I know this answer very, very quickly. I had a song on the Blue Mountain album called Everybody Hates Me. And it was, I mean, I hate the title. It feels very cringe. I don't like how in your face and blunt it was, but it was at like the height of me moving to Sweden and the pandemic was on. And yeah, I was just like so isolated and reading into anything that came my way. Like a friend would send a text message and have a full stop at the end. I'm like, a full stop? Like who puts that at the end of the text? Like what's going on there? And I was just, yeah, definitely in this mood. That's why I ended up naming the song just that. I was like, it needs no romantic, dreamy, metaphoric title. This is straight up how I was feeling. And it was also a bit of a branch out musically. So it's not like, I mean, is it my favorite song? No. Do I play it live? Not very much. But it was like a song that I'm glad that I wrote and glad that I guess I pushed myself and didn't try to, I don't know, dress it up too much in covering up what I was feeling. It was like one of the first times that I've now kind of carried through in other writing is, you have to have space every now and then. You can't be Shakespearean on every single line of a song. Otherwise, you're just going to isolate people. Like you need to have those moments where you can invite people in because they see themselves in certain things and stuff like that. And I think that's really helped. Uh, writing that song has kind of unlocked a lot of other ways that I've been writing as well.
Amazing. Love it. So for those people who maybe aren't watching or listening, Hazlett always has a Chicago Bears hat on. And I've asked him before, being the Vikings fan that I am, the story behind how an Australian became a Chicago Bears fan. And if you just tell us the story one more time.
So my dad, he worked at it was like a machinery company, and they worked with a lot of they were a big international company. He was in the Australian office, but he worked he did a lot of traveling for work, and someone started working at the company who he played one season, I think, for the Chicago Bears. So dad became good friends with him, and he sent me and my sister Chicago Bears merch for Christmas one year when I was like 4 or 5 or something. And it was this like miniature Chicago Bears helmet, and then he would just constantly send more and more stuff. So that's weird association of how I became a Chicago Bears fan when I was a kid. I was brainwashed for years of torment and um, you know, being unsuccessful. But
Yeah,
this year
I
we're going to
mean,
turn it around, so it's okay.
turn it around. Yeah, it's I live that life of, hey, this is our year, so I get it.
Yeah,
Well, man, I appreciate you being on, taking the time, and yeah, just chopping it up here for a half hour. How about we take the last little bit here, plug something for yourself, your tour, maybe album, whatever
yeah,
you got going on.
yeah. Tour coming up September, October through the US, doing my own shows, and then also opening up for John Vincent the third. And then yeah, the album comes out October 4th, which I kind of spent a lot of time over the past year or two that I went and recorded that one in the cabin in Sweden. So that's it's probably going to be my favorite achievement to date is getting that album out and that European tour end of the year. And then I'm going to maybe get some time off over Christmas and New Year's and then hopefully come back to the US again in February or March. So I'm not planning to stay away too long. So I'll be back.
Amazing. Love it, man. I appreciate you being
Good man.
on, and
I appreciate you.
yeah, hope to catch you when you're over here for sure.